While working as a principal, a student came into the office crying, saying that his arm hurt. I could see that his arm was completely backwards. Guiding him through the office, I gathered some magazines to create a makeshift cast. I asked him how much pain he was in, and as he looked at me, looking at his arm, he finally took a look at it, and that is when he lost it. He could see his arm in 2 different places and screamed, "Oh my gosh, my arm is broken, it's broken!" The office staff and I calmed him a bit while we wrapped the magazines around his arm and called his mom. He left the school red-faced and tearful, but headed to a place where he could get fixed up. This is what we have been doing with the public education system for 50 years. We've been wrapping up our system in short-term fixes, but we have yet to properly fix its broken places so that it's mended and reframed for the long term. It's time we start to look at our problems, making notes as we do, so we mend the institution. Now, there is a lot we are doing in public education that is working. We have some amazing, dedicated professionals who are lifelong learners. We have teachers that spend countless hours learning professional development and taking that information into the classroom for their students. I see teachers care for students as if they were their own children, using their extra time, money, and resources to give students and their families what they need. The ingenuity of teachers never ceases to amaze me. During the pandemic, that ingenuity showed through. Teachers continued to educate virtually while checking in on students and learning new software. But it didn't stop with teachers. Families started to spend more time together, and kids were encouraged to be more creative and less scheduled. Communities rallied together to create food pantries, clothing exchanges, and places for free Wi-Fi to help those in need. COVID brought out our creativity, and we all invented or discovered new ways to do things. Let's take what we learned from those COVID adjustments and change the way we do learning to send innovative, high-achieving students out into the world. Engaging students and supporting families must continue to be the goal. Imagine a public school that truly puts the student learning first, and communities are involved along the way. A place where their styles and interests are taken into account and teachers can use their skills without worry. We are aware that the days and times school operates is because of working parents. But the days and times are no longer working for the learner anymore. As author Dana Zohar states, most transformation programs satisfy themselves with shifting the same old furniture about in the same old room. But real transformation requires that we redesign the room itself, perhaps even destroy the room. It requires that we change our thinking behind our thinking. Let's redesign education and give parents what they want for their children. Enrichment, extracurricular activities, experiential learning, transparency, and communication with the school. So, how do we redesign the school day without increasing the school budget and without lowering teacher pay? We bring the community and educator experts to the school. We have educators excited to share what they know in STEAM, for example, and wish they had more time with students. We have students that want to explore, invent, and create. Community organizations that want to share their information with students in college, students that wish they could share and are eager to learn and share with our future generations. we bring them in. We have coaches that want to hone in on music or athletic skills, and parents that often can't afford the extracurricular. With the new school day, we can bring those activities in. The school building becomes a community hub that prepares students for the entrepreneurial world we have become. In order to do this, the academic school day shortens from 8 hours to 4 hours. We have seen and we know that standard pieces of the curriculum can be taught in 4 hours. During the pandemic, the way we educated showed us that students didn't need to be in front of the teacher the entire day to be engaged in learning. Teachers would log in for the first hour, check in on students, play a few virtual games, and then go into the objectives that they had with math and language. They'd give students an assignment to complete for 2 hours with an afternoon check-in. Students would then, there were also activities and opportunities for students to be engaged virtually with science, social studies, and even reading, thanks to Nearpod. Now, before you get worried and start stressing about what we're going to do after the 4-hour school day, start worrying about daycare and thinking, this is impossible. I am saying that the academic school day shortens to 4 hours, but the amount of time that students are in the building would remain the same. They would still be there for 8 hours. Students would continue their learning after lunch and have activities and classes geared to their growth and development. Students of all ages could be taking coding, music, sewing, painting, electronics, financial literacy, and even gardening. They would stay in the building, and the activities would happen within a structure. And one of the best parts, teachers could stay and teach an extra class if they'd like for extra pay, or they could continue their professional development, planning, and using that COVID creativity they were at home allowed to explore. The rest would come from community partners, whether it be nonprofits, student organizations, or local businesses that want to work with students in their program model that they offer. School districts could tailor the growth and development portion to their needs and resources. Of course, when bringing in community organizations, we maintain the safety of our kids. We aren't going to allow just anyone and everyone to come in. There has to be a guarantee that learning is tied to the state standards and goals we have for students when they graduate. It's really time that we innovate and optimize the school day. Companies and programs would be vetted and cross-checked. We have programs now that come into the school during recess and work with students on lifelong skills while playing and working together. Partnerships with universities that have specialists in music, art, and drama. And because of time, schools often have to pick just one and do that for 8 to 12 weeks. But with the community school day, they could choose all 3. Even in a recent speech given by Miguel Cardona, U.S. Secretary of Education, he called for us to be more united. We cannot operate the way we have prior to 2020. Our shared vision of what we have for our children requires families, schools, and communities. He said, we need all hands on deck to level up our education system. It's going to take communities, teachers, school leaders, families, and entire groups of people. It's not going to be easy. It's not meant to be easy, but I want you to work together. The goals and vision we have for our children is going to take all of us. They are watching us how we come forward after a pandemic is going to be written down. And I want to be in the history books that while COVID was a battle, we came out victorious. As reforms have been created and proposed, most of the ideas are often from those that want to start from scratch, are not in the education system. It's time we start to look to educators who are doing this work daily. The elevation of teachers is crucial to the way we change learning. When you ask people about their favorite part of the school day, they will often remember a teacher that touched their lives in some way. You might want to know what happened to my student. The doctor put a cast on the arm and mended the 2 breaks. He came back to school and was cheerful. He didn't remember his arm being in 2 directions. His body had adjusted to the shock and pain of the deformation. We can no longer accept the pain that we can no longer. We need to change the alterations that we made through the pain of the pandemic. Start a conversation with your school board about implementing these changes. Let's learn from that time, mend our institutions, and give parents and students the best education possible. Thank you.